Roar! Okay, so I'm gonna tell you the story of the roar and how like me and my roaring came to be. Whenever I would do a hike, I would always like just let out this big like roar, like, but really, really loud, like just as loud as you possibly could. And I would like do it when I got to the top of something. Like I just wanted to let everything know that I was there. And I wanted to let all the animal life and anything that could hear me know that I was there. So I was in Durango, Colorado with this super vanilla girl, like super mousy, timid little doormat kind of girl. And I let out this roar, like I was standing on top of a boulder. And I was like, now you do it, roar. And she was like, roar. Like, she just couldn't let out a roar to save her life. And it was like the most disappointing thing in the world to me. I was like, man, she can't even let out a roar. So that's how it came to be. Anyway, I want to talk about the limitations of a daddy and what a daddy can actually pull off and what a daddy can't. And, you know, we have our place. Daddies and little girls have their place. And I know for a lot of you little girls, it feels really difficult to find a good daddy. You find guys that maybe you can, you know, test for weakness and you find yourself disappointed because you end up being able to kind of dominate them. Or you find guys that want to be called daddy in the bedroom, but they don't behave like a daddy outside of the bedroom. Or you find guys that are controlling and abusive, and they figured out that if they say that they're a daddy dom, somehow that makes these abusive, controlling behaviors okay. None of that is what a daddy is about. It should be a super loving, supportive, nurturing dynamic where they encourage you to engage in your friendships and nurture your friendships and you know, make you stronger. And you know, oftentimes a daddy will kind of see a vision for his little girl and he'll push her to become the best version of herself. But I will tell you, it isn't any easier for the daddies. There's a lot of bad little girls out there, and it can be difficult to navigate because all the little girl wants to do is have a safe place to give that part of herself, and all the daddy wants to do is have a safe place to give that part of himself. And so it should be an exchange. Both people should be getting what they want and getting their needs met, but that isn't always the case. And a lot of times a daddy has bad intentions and is looking for a little girl and outlet for those bad intentions, and a lot of times a little girl, I think sometimes unknowingly has bad intentions and doesn't realize it. And the most common thing I see is little girls that are having a really hard time integrating into being an adult. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying it's not. I mean, by default, the little girl doesn't want to do these like grown-up girl, big girl things necessarily. Sometimes, you know, if you look at the alpha submissives, and I'll at some point do a video on alpha submissives as well, that's a little bit different. They, you know, are looking for, they are more dominant in their day-to-day life. They're just looking for a more dominant man. But another issue I find is, you know, there's a limit to the amount that a daddy can help with. A daddy's not a cure-all. A daddy can't fix everything. A daddy can't make it all go away. If you have anxiety problems, if you have depression, if you have insecurities, if you have jealousy issues, if you're needy, and so on, there are limits to what a daddy can do. And then there's a point where you need to take over and you need to take responsibility and you need to be working on your own issues because you know, I sort of often say that in the daddy-little girl dynamic, it is an exchange, and it can be an exchange. A good example of this is daddies are oftentimes very possessive, and you know, they want to keep their little girl safe, so they're very protective and possessive. And in a vanilla relationship, that wouldn't go well. A vanilla girl wouldn't appreciate that. She wouldn't want that. It wouldn't be okay. In a daddy-dom little girl dynamic, a little girl probably likes that. She probably likes that her daddy's like mine, like, and has that super protective, like, I own you kind of mentality. And so it kind of balances out, and vice versa. I don't mind needy. I don't mind insecure. I don't mind some jealousy. I don't mind possessive. I don't mind a lot of issues that most guys would run from. If you talk to most guys and said, oh, like, I'm needy and I'm this and I'm that, and I don't mind checking my phone. I don't really hide anything. I don't have anything to hide. I don't really care. So that stuff, I'm big on transparency, and I feel like if you're in a relationship, if you're in another relationship and you want to keep parts of yourself, you should be able to keep parts of yourself, and I guess that's how it goes. But in the daddy little girl dynamic, I believe in complete transparency, and for me that means you have access to anything in my life that you want. So I don't care if you're jealous or if you whatever. Like, I'm always going to be completely upfront and honest, always. But there's a point where that can not be enough. So if you're if you are struggling to be alone, for example, if you're just struggling with your own thoughts and you start having super bad thoughts when you're alone, and so you kind of always need somebody around, and you're unable to self-soothe, a daddy can't help with that, because a little girl needs to be able to be a big girl when her daddy's working or busy or unavailable to him, and he needs to know that he can count on her to be making good choices and taking care of the relationship and doing the best that she can for the relationship and making him proud. And she needs to have faith that he's doing the same. He's working on making the relationship better and stronger, and so on. So there are limitations. There is a point where a daddy can't make it all better. If you need constant attention, not because you're needy, but because you can't be alone, a daddy can't fix that. A daddy can support you. A daddy can be accepting. A daddy can be understanding, but you ultimately have to do the work. And the partner that you're with has to decide if they, what they think the likelihood is of you succeeding at that, and if it's something that they're okay with. Some other things, and I mean that would apply to just about everything. If you have severe anxiety, you could find a situation where your partner may not mind you, for example, not working, if you just can't work. But then it might be expected that you're addressing some mental health issues, you're going to therapy, you're trying to get on disability for mental health issues and anxiety, so you're contributing in some sort of way to the household. And it wouldn't be, a daddy can't fix it and be somebody that just enables you to kind of stay in that spot and not do the work. Daddy little girl relationships are very, very, very hard. They will challenge you, they push you. There's a different level of transparency, there's a different level of exposure and vulnerability. It's not comfortable, it's not always easy, it's a lot of work. It's like that because it's rewarding, it's like that because it's worth it. It's like that, I mean, if it was easy, everybody would do it. So it is like a vanilla relationship, but on steroids. I mean, it is a really amped up, transparent, vulnerable version of a standard relationship where nothing's being hidden, and so there's always going to be that level of discomfort. Well, at least initially, there's going to be that learning curve. I always say that the relationship needs to survive the damage caused by the learning curve. There's always a learning curve of getting to know each other and understand each other and feeling safe, and that takes a lot of work and effort. It's not for the faint of heart. You have to want it more than the fear of having it. So that's it. I'm done. Rawr! Of course, I gotta end with a rawr, and I got my rawr shirt on. Reptar in the house representing. What's up, Reptar? All right, questions, comments, feel free to leave them down here below. Peace out.